Justin Madubuike is the biggest Baltimore Ravens free agent. Do the Ravens need to re-sign him? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Justin Madubuike specifically. I'm going to have videos on all of the other Baltimore Ravens free agents as well, but I wanted to start with the best free agent that the Baltimore Ravens have. I also do apologize. Someone's doing construction near my house. I don't think it's very loud, but I do apologize if you hear like knocking or something like that throughout the video. So once again, apologize for that. But talking about Justin Madubuike, obviously the breakout player for the Baltimore Ravens this year, even though PFF, fun fact, their breakout player for the Ravens was Odafe Oweh, not Brandon Stephens or Madubuike, which shows you why everybody hates PFF, because they have no idea what they're talking about. But Justin Madubuike this year, obviously career year, ended up with 13 sacks on the season, led the Baltimore Ravens defense, who led the NFL in sacks. And it wasn't a season where it was, against, this really bad team, he put up 4 sacks in a game and he was able to get to 13. No, Justin Madubuike tied the NFL record for most consecutive games with at least half a sack. I believe he ended up with 11 games, which is an unbelievable thing to do. And, obviously he's played his entire career in Baltimore. He's been someone that we've been very excited about after that 2019 season. I was a huge fan of how he performed at the end of that year and into the postseason. I believe he played a little bit in that game against the Titans. But overall, it was just he continued to get better and better, but didn't have that opportunity because we had somebody else. We had Calais Campbell, and he was playing that role that we then said, all right, Calais, you're gone. Justin Madubuike, you step into that. He did way more than I think anyone expected him to, and put himself into elite defensive interior lineman territory. And the Ravens reportedly offered him a contract. I want to say it was around $12 million a year they offered him in the offseason. He did not accept that. He said, I want to do a prove-it season. He did the prove-it season and obviously balled out and is going to get a lot more money than that. Pulling up on Spot Track, looking at his estimated market value, it has him set at right around $20.3 million. For comparison, some other interior D linemen, Quinnen Williams is signed a contract at 25 for $24 million a year. Jeffrey Simmons at 25, $23.5 million a year. Deron Payne at 25 years old, $22.5 million a year. And Dexter Lawrence at 25 years old, $21.8 million a year. And so that averages out around $22.9 million a year. And let me say this, I think Justin Madubuike could be better than all of them. They all, though, had a little bit more experience being the true main guy on that defensive front. But at the same time, they're all kind of peaked. And I think they've peaked in that fringe elite or just outside of that Chris Jones and Aaron Donald tier. Fletcher Cox used to also be in that tier as well. But, this is the A tier. The top tier is the S tier. I think Justin Madubuike this year showed that he could absolutely get up into that S tier territory, that top elite tier, especially with Aaron Donald potentially retiring. There's talks about that every year. He's done every possible thing you can do as a defensive lineman. And then obviously Chris Jones, he's getting older, who's going to step up as that next, really great interior threat. Justin Madubuike absolutely has the skill set and potential to do that. Now, with that in mind, when you're looking at positions in defense, you have to think about the money. Do you want to spend $20 million on an interior pass rusher? In my opinion, I'm going to go with yes, but let's talk about the pros and cons. If you sign him for $20 million, all right, you are locked into 4, maybe 5 years of Justin Madubuike. And, he's going to give you very good interior play. Other players that you are paying that 100% are going to be here for those 4 years, you would assume Roquan Smith. That's about it. I think we'll give Kyle Hamilton an extension in that time, which would be going into Madubuike's final year of a 4-year extension would be Kyle Hamilton's extension year. So I think that the Ravens are set in that aspect. But Marlon Humphrey, and Marcus Williams, I think the Ravens are going to try and offload that. Now, I think Williams could be a trade piece, and Marlon, I expect when his contract is up, which is not this year, I think the Ravens will let him go. So I think the Ravens do have the money on the defensive side of the ball to pay him. However, that means the Ravens aren't going to have an opportunity to go out and get a big splash player. And I know a lot of people really want a big splash player. So if you let Madubuike walk and you do the cap restructuring, right? Maybe you cut Ronnie Stanley or you trade Ronnie Stanley, you get rid of Marcus Williams, you're able to save a lot of money. You can go out and make a trade for Khalil Mack, which Bleacher Report said was an option for the Ravens, a good suitable fit for Khalil Mack. You could go out and you could sign Mike Evans and let Odell walk and get a premier wide receiver one. You could go out there, you could re-sign Zeitler, you could re-sign Queen. There's a lot of other options that you could do if you aren't going to re-sign Justin Madubuike. Also, the reason why Madubuike is so important to the Ravens is he is their primary pass rusher. If I was looking at the Ravens and they had themselves a Nick Bosa, a Khalil Mack, or TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, a premier pass rusher that you're already paying money to, I probably wouldn't sign Justin Madubuike because I feel like we just need that one pass rusher. And the Ravens have struggled at getting pass rushers, especially in the draft. You look at their recent draft history, it's unknown, how some of these picks will turn out. I'm not writing them off, but Odafe Owe hasn't, stepped up as that number one guy. David Ojabo's been very injured, and it's difficult to tell. We drafted, Tyus Bowser. We've drafted interior linemen like Broderick Washington. But overall, we just haven't been able to find someone. Tim Williams as well, I believe, in the same draft class as Tyus Bowser. We just haven't been able to find that pass rusher. When you find a position that you've been searching for, you need to grab it and hold on to it. The last time the Ravens had a really good pass rusher, it was Matthew Judon. We let him walk. Part of the reason I think that was because I think Wink Martindale is incompetent and he can't utilize edge rushers properly, which made Judon want out, and it made Judon look not as good because he wasn't getting sacks. He goes to New England and he's a dominant Pro Bowler every single season because he was a really good football player, but Wink Martindale refused to use him. Justin Madubuike has shown he can contribute, and not just contribute against the bad teams. Justin Madubuike was a monster in the playoffs. I believe it was 13 total quarterback pressures in the 2 games that were played. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable what he was able to do against 2 teams that, we weren't even really getting sacks off on them, but he was getting pressure. He was forcing them out of the pocket. And when you force them out of the pocket and you get those pressures, big plays are allowed to happen. If I was looking at this defense and we were in a situation where we needed to extend Kyle Hamilton or Madubuike, I might have a different thought process. But really our defense, what we're deciding between, and really our entire free agent class is, Patrick Queen or Justin Madubuike. I'd much rather have Madubuike. I don't think that's a discussion because we already have our Mike linebacker. I don't think paying 2 linebackers is necessarily smart, especially when you have the opportunity to get what hopes to be a premier pass rusher in the NFL in Justin Madubuike. You've already extended Michael Pierce. Your entire interior defensive line could be set for the next 3 seasons. And I think that is very much worth it to extend Justin Madubuike on a $20 million a year contract. Now, I don't think I'd pay him $30 million. I don't think someone's going to offer that, but just because I think the Ravens need to extend a guy, they need to extend a guy within reason, right? If he goes out there and says, I want a 100% guaranteed $35 million contract, I think it would be smart to say no. But if he goes out there and gives you a reasonable offer, I think a reasonable offer is $24 million a year or less. I would expect the Ravens to try and pay him, in that $19 to $21 million range. I think they'll end up paying around 21, 22. I don't think they'll be able to pay less than 20 because, let's be honest, when you're signing a contract, you want to hear that 20. Like 19 million versus 20 million. 20 million sounds so much better, right? Because it's, if it's a 5-year deal, that's $100 million contract. I think it's a very smart move for the Ravens to try and re-sign Madubuike. Again, if it's under 24 or 24 or under, I'm totally happy with it. If it's 25, I'm still going to be happy. I'm going to be pretty surprised if it's $30 million. But honestly, if we keep him, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to criticize the Ravens. I may be a little bit shocked at the price that we pay, but I think Justin Madubuike is one of those types of players where if you're looking at this team and you're looking at this defense, who do you want to build around? It's front line, Justin Madubuike. Middle line, it's Roquan Smith. Back line, it's Kyle Hamilton. That is the core of this defense. If you're an older Ravens fan, right, that's our Haloti Ngata. That's our Ray Lewis. That's our Ed Reed. If you're even older, right, you can go to Tony Siragusa, Ray Lewis, and whichever secondary member you want. I'm a big fan of Chris McAllister, but overall, I like building, one guy at each level where you can depend on them because they all work through each other, and keeping them all in the same building is always going to do wonders for you. I'm excited to see what Zachary Orr has in store and if he really wants it, because I think that's a huge factor is who he wants, Zachary Orr. Remember, he's a linebackers guy. Maybe he likes Patrick Queen. I don't know. But in my opinion, I think you got to keep Justin Madubuike. Don't let Mike McDonald get a hold of him. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more Daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.